Hi guys, welcome back to CJ's Keto Kitchen. Tonight we're making bagels, keto everything bagels. So come along with me and let's get started. So bagels seem to be an extremely popular item, and they have been for a very long time. They've actually been around since the 16th century. And originally they were created in Poland. And actually the word bagel comes from a Yiddish word that means ring or bracelet. So usually bagels have a hole in the center. And the reason for the hole is that is how vendors would transport them. They'd put them on a big pole. And so because they had a hole, all the bagels slid onto the pole and it made transport a lot easier. So usually bagels are a yeast dough and they are boiled before they are baked to make them chewy. But tonight we are going to be making a keto version that is very easy and it can be made in lots of varieties. So let's get started. So to begin our dough, I have 2 cups of almond flour in a bowl. And I've just kind of broken it up a little bit because almond flour can be a little lumpy sometimes. So I've just kind of broken that up a little bit. And to our almond flour, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And we want to combine that so that everything is well incorporated. And then into our dry ingredients, this is where we want to put our seasonings because bagels by nature can be very bland and we want our bagels to have a bit of flavor. So I'm going to put some seasonings in it. So I'm going to put a little bit of 21 seasoning salute. And if you don't have 21 seasoning salute, you can just use an all-purpose seasoning, something that's a garlic and herb kind of thing. I'm also going to put a little bit of onion powder. And you can do all of these to taste, however flavorful you want. I'm also going to put a little bit of garlic powder. So then I'm just going to incorporate those spices that we put in so that it's all throughout our dry ingredients. So now that we have our dry ingredients combined, we're going to set that aside and work on our wet ingredients. So we need 5 tablespoons of cream cheese. And you need this in a microwave safe bowl because we are going to use the microwave to make our dough. So we need, once again, 5 tablespoons of cream cheese. I use the Philadelphia brand because I find that it has the smallest amount of carbs. A lot of your grocery store brands have 2 carbs per serving versus 1 carb for Philadelphia brand. And to this, I'm going to add 3 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. And we are going to be microwaving this by intervals until everything gets melted. So I'm going to microwave a little bit, then I'm going to stir, I'm going to microwave a little bit, and I'm going to stir. You want everything to become very pliable before we add the rest of our ingredients. Now you can always go back and microwave it again for another 30 seconds if your dough becomes too hard to work with. You just have to be careful to do that before we add our eggs because sometimes it can start to cook your egg and you really don't want to do that. So we are going to start microwaving our 3 cups of cheese and our 5 tablespoons of cream cheese. And I'm going to start with a minute and then see how it looks at that point. So I'm just going to start stirring this around. You can see that the cream cheese has softened a bit, but the mozzarella is not melted, and we need the mozzarella to be melted. So we are going to put it back in for another minute. Okay, so you can see that our mozzarella is now much more stringy. And that's about the consistency we want. We will probably have to microwave it again just a little bit more after we add our dry ingredients because it tends to seize up pretty quickly, just so you know. So I'm going back over to the counter to add our other ingredients. So now we're going to add 2 eggs. We're just going to break those up and stir them into our dough. And it looks like it's not going to pull together, but it will. Just be patient. Fathead dough can be a little tricky to work with sometimes when you first get started, but it just takes practice and patience. Okay, so at this point we are going to add our almond flour and dry ingredients. And I'm just going to go ahead and pour all of this into the larger bowl just for my sanity. And we're just going to mix everything together. And like I said, we will probably have to pop it back in the microwave for another couple of seconds just to make sure that our dough stays pliable for us once we've gotten this all mixed in together. And make sure and get all of your almond flour from the bottom. And that is generally why we pop it back in the microwave, is just to make sure that we get all the dry ingredients incorporated into the wet ingredients very well. So I am going to pop this back in the microwave for about another 30 seconds. Okay, that has given us a little bit more softness to our dough. So I'm going to stir it up again and just make sure that everything is well incorporated. And it appears that it is. Now I'm going to put my dough, which by the way smells very good, smells very nice and fragrant. I'm going to plop my dough out on my Silpat silicone sheet, just because I want to be able to work with the dough, and if you put it directly on your countertop it can be very sticky. And you know, we're not using flour. You could put a little almond flour on if you're having a real hard time sticking. I'm going to de-ring, because unless you want dough in your diamonds, it's better to take your rings off for this. So I'm just going to start working it a little bit, just kneading it and making sure that our ingredients are well incorporated. And having this silicone mat really helps this process. So our amount of dough here is supposed to make 6 bagels. So we want to break these off into 6 dough balls, basically. And it is going to be sticky, so just be patient. That one looks too big, but we'll see. And I might need to add a little bit to the other ones. So we'd like them to be relatively the same size. So we can add a little to these other 2. And just kind of roll them around. Until you get, you know, slight semblance of evenness. These 2 are still a little too big. And definitely having the silicone mat is really ideal if you can. I'm going to borrow a little bit from this guy and a little bit from this guy to make this one a bit more even. Okay. So we have our 6 dough balls. In my last recipe, I proved that my math skills were not stellar, but I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, that this is indeed 6.
Yes.
You can verify.
I can verify that there are 6
dough balls this time. Okay, good. Okay, now I have preheated my oven to 425 degrees. Now I am going to be using a donut pan. You do not have to have a donut pan. You can simply form these into a bagel shape and just bake them on parchment paper or on your Silpat. But I am going to use this to help facilitate a roundness to my bagels. So we are going to bring this over here. And we are going to take our bagel dough and we want to make it into a ring, form it onto our donut. So I'm just kind of making a hole, trying to make my hole even. But since these are homemade bagels, you know, they might not be like perfect, but that's okay. You want them to look slightly homemade and rustic, right? So if you were just going to put this on parchment paper, you would just go like that and lay it down. But I really wanted to give this silicone donut mold a shot. They were very inexpensive on Amazon, and you actually got two. I have another one that is lavender color. So they came in a set of two, and I think it was like $10. So they're very affordable. And of course, you know, there are recipes for keto donuts, and we might attempt those at a further date. Okay, here's our last one. All right, so there's our beautiful little bagel babies. We want to add our everything parts, since these are everything bagels. So in order to facilitate our bagel seasoning sticking, we need to add a bit of an egg wash. Now, an egg wash is just simply an egg with maybe a teaspoon of water, and you just whip it up with a fork. And the egg wash is going to ensure a golden brown color on our bagels, and it's also going to help our seasoning stick to the bagels. Now, I'm going to be using Trader Joe's Everything But the Bagel Seasoning Blend. However, I have seen on grocery store shelves that almost every grocery store now makes a version of Everything But the Bagel. So sometimes they'll just be called bagel seasoning or whatever, but so you don't have to have a Trader Joe's. I've seen bagel seasoning at Walmart and some other grocery stores. So just look with the rest of the spices and seasonings and you should be able to find something like this. If you cannot find something like this, you could simply put some sea salt and some garlic on there, maybe some poppy seeds or something like that, just to give it the same effect. And you also could make these bagels without the spices in them if you just wanted plain bagels. So I have my little silicone paintbrush here, and I'm just going to egg wash my baby bagels. And then we're going to take our seasoning, and you can put as much or as little as you'd like on your bagel. Okay, so we are going to put these into our preheated 425-degree oven, and we're going to cook them for between 12 to 14 minutes, and they should get golden brown. So I'm going to start with 12 minutes on my timer, and we'll see how they look after 12 minutes. Okay, so I've had them in for about 13 minutes, and you can see that they're getting nicely brown. But I'm going to go ahead and give them about another 2 minutes just to make sure that they're thoroughly set and very brown. So I'm going to give them a couple more minutes. Okay. There's our golden little babies. I am going to bring them up here and let them cool. And then I'm going to pop them out and slice one up and toast it. and we'll let CJ have a taste. So I discovered by using the donut pan, you'll see when I pull one out, which silicone is very nice, that it made a smaller area. So it almost made it more like a muffin, you know, like a thick top muffin. So it's not as even probably as if you were to just stretch them out and lay them on a pan. The only problem with that sometimes, what I've read from other people's reviews, is that sometimes your bagel can spread out really far and then you end up with a thin bagel anyway, so. But it's personal choice. It's still gonna be yummy.
Burn yourself, it's okay.
Okay, I did unplug it, FYI, so I'm going to use my butter knife to get the other piece out. So they are nice and golden and toasty, but you can see the difference in the size between the top and the bottom using my donut pan. But still, it's an option if you wanted to do that. I'm gonna put some cream cheese on this for CJ, and then we'll let him taste the bagel. Hi, baby.
Hi.
Welcome to Sarah's Bagel Shop. I mean, CJ's Keto Kitchen.
Sarah's Bagel Shop is fine.
Okay. You are going to be taste testing a keto everything bagel with cream cheese. It's been toasted.
Okay. We got a nice crunch to it. Well, maybe we could have left them in a little bit longer, but you know, you didn't. And I'll just say this: we didn't practice this recipe. This was a one-shot deal. But I think they're good, and I think, like I said, maybe we left them in. The tops are crispy. That is super crispy, and has a crunch. But the inside, it's not dough. It's not.
It's not doughy. It's just soft.
It's just soft. That's all. So. Geez, maybe that's what bagels were supposed to be, because I haven't had a bagel in 3 years, so I don't remember.
Bagels can be very, very chewy, which is the nature of bagels. That's why they boil them. But they can also be rock hard if you toast them too long. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try this one, because this is actually
the thin part.
The thin part. And let's see what this did. That's actually got a little bit more crunch.
Okay. Well, it probably got a little more cooked in the bottom of the pan, and the cheese got all crispy.
I think they're good. They're not going to be like regular bagels, because they aren't regular bagels.
They don't have gluten in them.
They don't have gluten in them.
They don't have stretch.
For what they are, it is a nice treat for keto, low carb folks to have. And
it would be a good vehicle for other things if you wanted to put salmon on it, if you wanted to make a breakfast sandwich out of it.
Exactly. So I think it's a good recipe to have in your arsenal, and you may not have them all the time, but it is a good thing to have. And they were super easy to make once you kind of get used to the fathead, handling the fathead. But good job, baby. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us again tonight, you guys. We hope that you enjoyed the bagels. We hope also that you'll come back and see us again. Please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you know when we upload new content. We upload twice a week. We have Keto Conversations on Wednesdays, and that's where we get together and talk about different ketogenic topics. And then on Sundays is when we release our new recipes, and we have all different kinds, both savory and sweet. Also, if you would like other recipe ideas, also the full recipes that are printable, macros, and anything else that you need, that can always be found on our blog, and that is CJSKETOKITCHEN.com. We are also on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all of the hot spots, and that's CJ's Keto Kitchen. So we hope that you will join us again and that you enjoy this recipe as much as we did. And we'll see you next time on CJ's Keto Kitchen. Bye.